Hey friends, welcome back. If you're following along, you've already built the structure of your Canva website and now it's time to make it actually work. So connecting it to the real world so you can collect inquiries from customers or clients, gather whatever information you need and start interacting with your target audience, whoever that may be. In this video, I'm covering three big things. So we're going to go over forms, embeds, and publishing settings. These are pieces that take your site from pretty to functional. At the end of this video, you should know how to collect form submissions, when to use embeds, and how to safely publish and edit your site without too much stress. So let's jump in. Okay, before we start dragging and dropping, let's talk about forms at kind of a higher level because you have a couple of options here. Canva offers native forms. It's built right into the platform. They're great if you want something simple and fast, but there are also external form tools like Tally, Typeform, or even Google Forms, which give you a little more flexibility. So I'll break down both so you can choose what makes sense for your workflow. Canva native forms are exactly what they sound like. So if I'm going to add a section here, we'll go ahead and just play around with it so you can see it. You can add a form directly to your site from here. So if you go to the Elements tab here and come all the way down to Forms, there's a couple different options for designs and different types of forms that you can throw in here. They're pretty basic. So they're great for simple contact forms, newsletter signups. They're integrated right into the site, which is nice. You don't have to go off site. The limitations here though, you get the basics, right? So if I were to put a basic onboarding form here, like a checklist, there's not much beyond this. Submissions only go to your email. There's no dashboard or way to segment people, which is fine. If it's just a simple contact form or you're just doing a questionnaire for information, I don't see why this wouldn't be perfect. Now, you don't really have a whole lot of flexibility. So the way that you would edit this, double click the form, and then over here you can change the questions, you can add questions, and then play with the settings here. Obviously, you can follow along. If you change onboarding tech checklist, we know that'll change the title or the header. And then you can change the submit button, text, and everything. Pretty simple, pretty basic. There's a few nice options here. This is actually new to me. Yeah, I've always just used Tally because I really like Tally. But the reason why I like Tally is, so I'm going to come on over here. Let's go over to Tally so we can see. This is a template that I made. It's a general contact form for a yoga teacher. So obviously this is titled to connect with an anonymity, which is specifically titled for this website. But the reason why I like this is because you have a lot more control. So you have more field types, you can have people upload files, you have drop downs, you have multi-selects, you have calculations, you have conditional logic. So if someone selects that they're interested in private sessions, you can open up a whole slew of other questions to make sure that you have everything you need and really speed up the process. The other thing about them is everything lives within Tally's backend. So if I come home here and I go to the, back end of this form, which is where we are in tally.so, I can actually come into the submissions section and you'll see all the completed submissions in one place. You also get better branding and customization. You can change colors. When you go in and edit the form, you can customize it and change all sorts of things. Layouts and CSS, there's really so much you can do with it. It does require an account with Tally. It's another login to manage. Obviously, nobody loves that. There's a little bit of extra setup, but once you get the hang of it, I actually really like it. It's essentially set up like a doc, or it's similar to Notion, where if I wanted to insert a certain block there, I could backslash and then select whatever I wanted, right? This is also good for workshop signups. It's a really nice way to collect information about people that you want to come to your events. So think a little bit about that. The Canva native contact form is just fine, especially in the beginning if you're already checking your emails. Okay, not a big deal. They are pretty. This one's really pretty. I'm not sure how customized you're able to make the other ones. They're all pretty pretty basic. Oh, it looks like, yeah, you can go up here and edit the form, right? Change the color, etc. So yeah, you can change the font and everything to match. I mean, this bar up here, this toolbar, it looks like there's quite a bit of options up here. So great for simple contact forms, email list signups, quick inquiries, but you do have some manual labor involved. External tools like Tally, great for applications, detailed questionnaires, client onboarding, anything that needs a system. Okay, so we already talked about adding forms. That's something that you'll need to play with. Again, you come over to the Elements tab and then select Forms right here in the middle. Style it however you want. Customize the fields however you want. Submission settings. With Canva's native forms, the submissions are sent directly to the email associated with your Canva account, so you will get a notification every time someone fills it out. There's no dashboard, no spreadsheet, just email. It's fine for low volume, especially in the beginning, but if you want something more organized, I would highly recommend connecting an external form like Tally. So for this video, we're going to be using Tally, although all of them are pretty much the same. Typeform or Google Forms work similarly. So Tally is free. You get unlimited submissions. It gives you all the features you need without being overwhelming. If you prefer Typeform or Google Forms, it's, like I said, it's basically the same. So come on over to Tally, and if you don't already, go ahead and create an account. You onboard into Tally. You'll come to a page, it'll basically be blank. I have lots of them in here. And you can start from scratch or a duplicated template. They also have templates within Tally, so you can explore what other people are doing and use the forms that are in here. So if you look at this fitness form here, you've got all sorts of information for intake, and there's multiple pages in this one. They have a fancy schmancy little GIF and a photo, right? In order to use this, you would hit this blue, use this template, right? And then you can customize the whole thing. You can get real fancy with it. Yeah, pretty fun. So once you're done with it, we'll go back to the Ananda Matri one. Okay. Once you're done with the design and you've got all the questions done on your form, you would hit the share button top right, although since I'm out of the, let's see, I would hit publish first, and then it would bring me over to automatically into share. There we go. So we'll come into share. Now you have a link. You can copy and send that directly to people, but if we wanted to embed it directly in this site, we would scroll down here to embed form. A couple different ways to do it. For this particular video, we're just going to go with the standard for now. For Canva site, grab the embed link by selecting standard, and then instead of getting the code, for Canva websites, all you need is the embed link here underneath get the code. So if you get the code, you're going to need to do a bunch of other stuff. Don't worry about that right now. There's a lot that you can change. Not really important to change much of any of this. You want to make sure it's dynamic. You want to show the form title. Transparent background is nice, especially if you have a kind of off-white or not a white background. Once you copy that embed link, we're going to come back over to Canva. So once in Canva, let's delete this. We're actually going to go to apps and embeds. From embed, select embed, and then paste your link there. I'm gonna Command V and add that to the design. Now it pops up. You may need to finagle the page a little bit. If I select the actual section and pull this down, I can then expand the size of the form. And you'll probably want to play with this. We'll talk a little bit about this later in the video, but when we preview this site, sometimes you may need to expand this even further, especially if you have conditional logic in your form. So more questions might show up or not, okay? So now that we know that this purple rectangle is selected, we have a couple of options. We talked about this in the last video. But basically you can edit this link by selecting this pencil tool here, and you can show how to embed it, or how to display it rather. We want an embed for this purpose, or you could also just have a link in there too, that's fine. But I always think it's better and fancier to have the form directly on the page. You may also want to put a header in here to showcase that, and you will get Tally branding unless you decide to upgrade, I believe, to the next tier. I have not needed to. I don't really care if that's there. It is kind of important to, if you really want people to sign up for your things, say we wanted to create a Tally form to get people onto our email list, it would probably be better to come do that on the home page, for example. Above the fold is better, although if people are scrolling, we might want to put it somewhere like here, right? Somewhere in the middle. So external forms like this, they do take a few more minutes, but as you can see, it really was not that difficult to do. I think the payoff is worth it. If you're doing anything beyond basic contact collection, it looks more professional. And I find it to be just a really fun way to gather information. I won't go through it in this video, however, there are some really nice ways if we go to the form. I'm going to close that. There's some really great integrations with Tally. So if we wanted to, for example, send all of our submissions to a Google Sheet and notify us, or if you were using Notion, for example, you could send your submissions to a database, and then we can create automations based on that. We can also track with Google Analytics if you have a pro account. The other great thing that I'll probably go through in a future video is using Zapier to send submissions to literally anywhere. It's actually pretty cool what you can do with Zapier. So the reason why we would do this is to lessen the load eventually, right? So if you're getting a ton of submissions and perhaps you've started now online lessons and you want to get as many people in these online lessons as possible in order to market to them and create a community, you would probably want these integrations in here. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But on the topic of embeds, I want to talk a little bit more about embeds, when to use them. Not everything should be embedded. What is an embed? An embed is basically a window to another tool. So you're pulling content from an external platform and displaying it on your site. Technically, it's an iframe. You don't have to worry about any of that, but things that work well are forms, obviously, as we talked about, scheduling tools like Calendly or TidyCal, videos from YouTube or Vimeo. I've also discovered that Spotify playlists work really well as frames or as embeds, right? As an iframe. You can also put in Instagram, Twitter. These can be hit or miss. I don't recommend Instagram, although I might play around with it. Another great embed is Stripe links, PayPal buttons, things like that. Heavy interactive content, I wouldn't put in here anything that requires a lot of scrolling or complex navigation. You can't put pop-ups within an embed. They often don't work. So you'll come to see with embeds what works and what doesn't. So with Spotify, what I've discovered is you can actually find a playlist that you like, and we'll go over to Spotify and just play around with this. So if you've got a Spotify playlist that you absolutely love, this song is really lovely. So if I wanted to add this song, for example, to my site, I would come to these three dots here for more options, come all the way down to share, and then we're going to embed the album, right? This works great for podcasts. If you have podcasts that you're on or have been interviewed on, this is really an amazing thing to add to your website. You can change the color. You're limited on that based on the album art, I believe. And then you can change the size of it. You can change the percentage size and a few different nice options there. Down here, bottom right, you're going to hit copy. And then if we come to our site, basically what we would do is come to apps, search embed, right? Click that. And then we're going to paste that web link here. Oh, nope, just kidding. So I did this last time. So if you notice, this code is an iframe code, right? So this happens all the time. So don't think that I'm actually a professional. This code works great on other website builders, so just completely forget what I just said. This works on Wix, Squarespace, Showit, WordPress, all the things. But here's what we're going to do. Instead of embedding the album, we're actually going to copy a link, right? Or song, whatever it is you want to throw in there. So 3 dots, share, copy link. Okay. That should copy the correct link, right? So if I wanted to paste that in here, I think that'll work much better. Yeah, amazing. There you have it. So from here, you can actually play this. I believe you can, I can't remember if you can have the settings and everything work. We might need to preview it to actually play. So if I wanted to throw this in the center down here, whatever, obviously I would change the size of this to make that work. But in order to make sure that that functions, that brings me to my next topic, which is publishing settings. So we're going to go deep into, we talked a little bit about previewing the site, but we're going to talk about previewing and publishing. So these two buttons up here, we've got preview and we have publish changes. Preview shows you what your site will look like live. So if I preview that, and then I scroll all the way down, it's going to show you all the animations. It'll show you the blurs or anything we added to pages. Obviously, this has a soft, slow blur vibe, and there we go. So we have this new block here, and we can actually play it with the button. Nice. Okay. So this will take us, if someone clicks on this, they can actually go directly to Spotify. Obviously, I don't want to keep that there because it's overlapping some other things, but for playlists, these are really lovely because you can scroll through and other people can save it on their own Spotify. Such a nice little hack for Canva websites. Preview, make sure everything looks good. So things are going to change. You don't have that much power in Canva in terms of mobile optimization, but you do have a little bit of power. And the way that you would do that is making sure that you're grouping things correctly and that Canva knows that in general, the things that you want on certain sections are in order, I guess. So since we threw this here, as you can see, we threw this box over top, and because everything is overlaid, Canva decided that it wasn't sure what was more important. So this is too small. You would need to zoom in, right, on your phone to actually make that work, and we don't want that. So it brings me to my next point, which is always, always, always double check. Before you publish, you want to make sure that things look good, right? We changed the size of this video. That looks much better. I've got an FAQ section, and so far there's, like I said in the last video, there is no FAQ accordion yet in Canva, but I imagine they're working diligently to have everything because Canva is taking over the world. So we can, from here, if you're happy with everything, publish. But right now I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to delete this just for the sake of showing you how we threw that in there. I'm also going to group these guys because... there we go. Okay, I've got these grouped, and now we should see a little bit of a difference here. Let's see what happens when we group those, if they show up correctly. There we go. Now we have them top to bottom. So that's a really good example of what you'll see in Canva. If things are overlapping or things are kind of funny, it will put them in the wrong spot. And there's really not much you can do about it just yet. So another thing that you'll do when you preview is just make sure that all of the links work. So here we've got let's practice, brings us down here, perfect. And then earlier I had a link broke that was right here. I'm not sure why, so let's go fix that. So if I go to close, I'll come back over to it. Sometimes you have to play with they're tiny elements and they have to be layered appropriately in order for things to work. So I went ahead and grouped things and did a little finagling. If you get stuck, it's usually because things are overlapping or layered incorrectly. So if we click that, it'll bring us to the group class schedule. Wonderful. And you want to make sure that you're jumping pages properly. So this will take us to more information about classes, current schedule, contact, and there we go. Now, when you've previewed it and you love it, everything looks great, and you're ready to send that baby out into the world, we're going to go over to publish. So publish makes your site live, and once you hit that, your changes will go out immediately. So if you're updating a live site, preview your changes and then make sure it looks good, then publish in that order. So to update, say your site's already published and you want to make a change. So from here, let's publish it first so you can see what happens once it's published and we come back into the site. So once I publish it with this button, it's going to take out all the settings that I currently have and all the design that I currently have, and it's going to send it out live. Okay. Now from here, we can view the website on an actual browser. So if I click this button here, it's going to take me over into an actual site. Okay, so you can scroll through. Sometimes the feeling might be a little bit off. Sometimes the animations are a little bit sticky. Sometimes maybe the videos don't play correctly. They need to be changed size. Websites are never actually done, in my opinion. Okay. Now, once it's published and we click out of here, we can go ahead and edit from here since I'm already in the actual editor. But if I were to come from nowhere, if I were to click the site and click in, normally there's a edit the site button, but maybe there's not. Okay, never mind. Sometimes in some situations you'll need to hit edit site first and it'll bring you into the editor. They might have changed that. I'm not sure why it's not showing up, but if you're not able to edit, it's because you need to hit edit site, but it's probably because I'm already logged in and have been editing it. Okay. There's no save draft, so everything that you do in here is going to be saved automatically. It's one of the reasons I will always be a Canva fan. I have lost so much work to not saving just because I move really quickly. So let's talk about settings for websites. Canva gives you a couple options for who can see your site. So if we come up to publish changes, and this drop down here gives you your website settings. This is going to pull up your site address as well as your preview. If you're working within Canva and you want to change your site address right now, it is on my Canva site basically, and you can do a / whatever you want. You can also buy a new domain, but we'll talk about connecting a domain next. So if I drop down here, I've got a couple domains. Obviously, if I wanted to connect my personal to a new site, I would just select one of these here, or follow the prompts once we go in to get a new domain. But what I want to bring you down to is actually settings down here at the bottom. So you have site settings and pages settings. These toggles here is something that you want to pay close attention to. So for a live site that we want people to go to, you do want search engine visibility. If we toggle this off, it means that you can send the site to someone directly, but they can't find it on Google. You definitely want that on. Password protection is exactly what it sounds. If you want to protect the site with a password so that nobody can get into it, you would toggle that on. Again, don't need to do that. The navigation menu up top, if you toggle this on, this is actually going to bring up a bar at the top with your home and then your our classes, right? So I don't really want that because I've already built in this menu at the top to be aesthetically matching the branding. So I usually don't have the nav menu. You can see that in preview as well. So I say just leave it off if you're going to build in your settings, build in your navigation manually. We do want to resize on mobile. You don't have to, but I think you should. And then your social media link preview. So if you turn this on, it just means that there's going to be an image attached to whenever you copy and paste your site on Facebook, for example. The other thing that you can change here is your site title. So if I wanted to make this case sensitive, I would change it there. And then the favicon. So I'm going to go ahead and do this after this video, but you can choose your own here by selecting that little button. This favicon is a little bit too small. So if I wanted to add a new one, this would bring in, right? So I would go to maybe all of the icons that I've made, and we'll just select this one for now. That one was a bit too small. So if we open this up, they're very, very small, but this is the little guy when you go onto a site that you see. There we go. Now you have a cute little favicon so that people know what tab they're on, right? It just makes it easier for people to find you. And then you can actually change the name of your pages right here. Okay. The other thing that you can do, and you can go into how it'll appear, right? I've never generated details. Let's see what happens here. Canva AI has gotten pretty good. Okay, perfect. So we've got a couple things here, right? We've got an about us, but I would probably say this is home. We don't want a URL since this is the home, right? Ananda Mantri Yoga Expert Guidance meets compassionate care. Join classes designed for all levels to nurture your well-being and inner calm. I actually like that. We'll keep that. But if you want to edit that, this is where you would do it. This is great for SEO. You only have 160 characters, so be mindful of that. So if we were going to go to classes here, so the second page, right? And down here, page 2, we want to name it classes. So explore mindful yoga classes, including vinyasa, yin, pranayama, eyes closed, build strength, calm your mind, connect deeply with your body. Yo, Canva AI just absolutely slays. Okay, continue to publish. And then that's everything we can do there, right? And so if I wanted to publish, I would just hit that purple button, and then again, it'll prepare, and it will give me the confetti and celebrate because we did it. Okay. So that's a little bit more about the SEO settings, meta descriptions, favicon, if that matters to you, and it should. If you want people to find you via Google, I would definitely do a little bit of working in there. There's some other things I'm going to go over in another video about pictures, videos, and the alt text and settings in Canva, but it's a little too long for the sake of this video. The last thing that we'll do here once it's done is share it. So we want to send this to people, right? We're really proud of it. There's 2 types of links in Canva. There's a view only link, and this is where you share with clients, customers, the public. This is your live site. There's also an edit link for other collaborators within Canva. So anyone you want to make changes, i.e. if you want to send it to me and make changes, then you'll need to send me an edit link, not a view link. Woohoo! Confetti. Okay. Keep these straight though, because I have definitely seen, people share an edit link somewhere and it's not something you want to do. Okay. So top right button here, share button. If I select that, I've got a couple of options. So we have a live website link. This is your actual website. Not to be confused with this purple copy link. This shares the actual design. Okay. This shares the actual website. Okay, that'll open up your website settings. It is very confusing. Okay, they did not do a very good job with that. Template link is a little bit different. So if I wanted to share this template with a client, right, so that they could copy and edit it, or if I wanted to make social media graphics and share it with VA, a couple different ways that you can do that. But the template link here would be a link that you would share with someone else that can use this freely. I do not recommend doing that for the sake of having everything connected to your unique links and information. It just doesn't make sense. So we'll delete that template link now. And then A couple other things. If I wanted to see all and I wanted to maybe move it to a folder or create a public view link. So it took me a little bit to figure this out. Your live website link has that little blue icon, so that's something you want to look for. This is your actual site. Now, when it's connected to the domain, it'll be anandamatri.com or whatever. The public view just sends people to a view version on Canva. So it's, again, sharing the actual design and not sharing the site itself. So be careful about that. You can also download this whole thing as a PDF. I don't know why you'd want to. And then some other cool things down here, if you go down to these apps, right, there's a couple of things that you can connect, like email marketing, like docs for signature signing. I don't know. Explore that. Not super important for this site, so we're actually not going to worry about that. Next part, we'll talk about connecting the domain. So I'm actually going to pause this video and I'm going to create a whole new video going through the process because it's not super complicated, but it might take me a little bit. For brevity, I'm going to actually create another video with a custom domain tutorial. It's the part that feels the most technical to people, but it's actually not as scary as it sounds. So with that said, thanks so much for all your time, and I will see you in the next video.